I think I connected all the dots and figured out what happened here, but help me understand. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so it is 11:32 p.m. on 3/26, and I just finished recording about a 47-ish minute video, meaning after editing it probably would have been down to like 38 minutes or so of all of the documents, all of them, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 documents, all right, in the Idaho case, because I was going to do a video on the jury subject documents the other day. Really wanted to get it out today, which would have been, Tuesday. But Sebastian Rogers is a missing 15-year-old autistic teen from Tennessee, and getting some information out about that story was, priority. So I went ahead and did that, and then my video was on like no sound. It wasn't like muted or anything, at least not like where I could notice it, but in my system settings, my microphone was muted. So luckily, all of that information is still very fresh in my head. So I'm just going to do like a breakdown of all of the things and just have the documents popping up on the page as I go, because holy crap, that was a lot. That was a whole lot. Okay. So what I'm understanding is happening here is sort of on the like shady level of the stuff that happened in Delphi. Okay. So for you guys that are following along with Delphi, the situation where Richard Allen's attorneys were taken away from him, where this whole like in the chambers scenario happened, and Judge Gull basically blackmailed him and was like, you're going to recuse yourself, you're not going to work this case anymore, or else basically be publicly tarred and feathered, and your entire career is over type situation. Okay. There was all kinds of things that should have happened. There should have been hearings, or should have been evidence of what she was accusing the attorneys of being, which is negligent and basically just useless and horrible. All of these things, there should have been hearings and evidence presented and a decision made, a process. There's a process. All right. Well, apparently, the defense was doing something that they claimed is pretty normal. The defense then found out that the state knew about what they were doing, and they had a little powwow about it. And the state wasn't okay with it and said, okay, well, I want to talk to the courts about this. And the defense was like, okay, cool. That's fine. We can talk to the courts together. That's totally okay. In chambers, on record, we'll have the conversation. Not a big deal. But instead of that happening, the state went and filed some stuff behind their backs late on a Friday evening, and now the defense is pretty much just pissed. Like at this point, Ann Taylor's angry, and that probably wasn't the best way to do this. So basically, this is what happened. In order for them to get evidence that a change of venue is needed, because remember, that is something that is now up in the air about what's going to happen, is a change of venue, yay or nay. We're going to find out soon. But in order for them to do their due diligence and do their jobs according to the defense, they wanted to do a survey. Yeah. So they hired someone who has apparently done trial surveys and things like this for like 20 years when it comes to helping figure out the direction that a trial should go. All right. This is a doctor of psychology. And again, he's been doing this for 2 decades. All right. That's a long time. So hearing that, you feel like this is a very normal thing. Okay. They even reference cases where this very same Dr. Edelman, Edelman, has done surveys and work just like this in other cases for Idaho. So not only is this something normal in general, but it's also normal for this person to do this type of work in this state. So should be normal, okay? Apparently, the state knew about this like in early March, and they decided to like not care about it at all for like a couple of weeks, and then suddenly they had a transcript, and they have a transcript of exactly what the questions were. Now, the problem that I have is that in the document, it's claiming that basically the questions were all about false information. and that was the entire point of the survey. And there was like 400 Latah County residents contacted telephonically. So this is people being bothered on the phone. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't answer numbers that I don't know. So I don't know who is actually answering these phone calls, but at least one of them was recorded because, again, the state has a transcript, meaning a phone call was transcribed of the conversations and the answers in the conversation in which this person was doing a survey with a Latah County resident. Now, I don't know if the doctor was doing this from like his office or his staff was conducting it, or he's just the one who like put the questions together and the defense team has a group of people doing it. Because the only way I could figure a whole transcription was had is that someone that was called recorded the conversation and gave it to the state, or somebody was making survey phone calls from inside the courthouse. Either way, somehow or another, the state got the transcription. Now, I have an issue with this because this person is getting information that's wrong and seeing how Latah County reacts to it. Well, this is coming from somebody who is a doctor of psychology, who is working for the courtroom, technically, right? To guide the trial. You hear fake information, you hear false information from somebody like that, and it's not corrected because it's not stating in any of these documents whether this false information, after the reaction of the survey person is gotten and written down, they're not claiming whether this false information is being like corrected or not. And to me, having somebody of substance and credibility call me and be like, oh, yeah, they found Bryan Kohberger's blood underneath Xana's fingernails, that to me is damning evidence. Okay. But if that's a false rumor that's being said to me to see my reaction, and then I'm not being told, by the way, I know that you heard that from somewhere that you thought was a credible source, but just so you know, that's not a fact of this case, that's probably doing more damage. That's just my opinion. Now, we do not get to see the actual order that was filed by the state about this whole prohibiting contact, all right? The only thing that we see that makes any sense when it comes to like chronological order of how these things are filed is the judge approving it and then approving the entire situation being sealed. We don't really understand what happens until we get into the memorandum in support of objection to the state's motion that actually becomes public 4 days later. So we have this like these sealed documents and these approval for sealing for this prohibition to contact prospective jurors, with the language making you think it's pointed at a very specific event, because the language is like no further contact. You can't contact them even though it's like via a third party. Well, that's exactly what's going on. The defense team is contacting potential jurors of Latah County, 400 of them to be exact, and they're asking them questions via a third party. I was really questioning what I was reading at first whenever I was going over these, but I was questioning it because I'm like, what happened? What is the event? This doesn't sound like this is typical. We're like a year away from them even doing jury selection. Like, what is happening? So it wasn't until then that I read it and I was like, oh, this is the event. The survey is the event that triggered the state filing whatever they filed that is gone, not gone, but that's not out here. Now, apparently, it had an attachment, and I'm going to assume that that attachment is the transcription. But the way that the defense is pissed, they are basically like, they're feeling like they got stabbed in the back. They really are. Because not only has this doctor, like I said, done this before in the state of Idaho, this type of thing is apparently pretty normal. And you guys, I would love to know in the comments, please, have you guys ever heard of phone surveys to test out the way the county is reacting to certain case rumors? Because that's what this was. This is media, social media, and like newspaper non-facts that were being spoken, which is, I think, the part that's blowing my mind the most is that they're just calling people and being like, hey, did you false fact here? That's going to end up being texted over to every mama and daddy and cousin and everybody else that they know about, hey, this guy from the courthouse has called me about the Idaho case. You know, the college students? Yeah. Guess what he told me? And then that person's going to call the next person, and then that person's going to send some text messages. And that's just how I see this happening. But yeah, that's basically it. Like the same way that the state took away the preliminary hearing, the state went and filed this all shady and behind the defense's back after agreeing to meeting together in chambers. Like all three, the court, the state, and the defense meeting in chambers on the record to discuss it. It was already agreed to. And instead, the state went and did this, filed something behind their back. And now the defense is like, bro, what? Like, what is your issue? And my biggest problem with this is that Judge just signed the damn thing. Judge just signed it. So I'm wondering if it's because if the attachment that was on this thing that the state filed was the questions, if they were just like bad, if it was bad. Because if it was bad, then I can understand the judge being like, oh, hell no. No, we're not doing this shit. I can imagine that. I can imagine that. And just knowing that it's like bad information and they're saying that's exactly the point. That's the entire point is to see the way that they're affected by the media. Okay, but what do we know mostly here? Okay, the locals are not normally the ones out on social media getting information from TikTok and YouTube and Reddit and Twitter. Like we have those few that like to like get in the middle of cases and be like, you know, the star or whatever. But for the majority, that's how I've always seen it. Like the locals kind of just like stay off social media. They get on social media in the very beginning, and I'm pretty sure that's sort of how it's been in the Idaho case. They get on social media in the very beginning to try to figure out what's going on, and then after a while it gets overwhelming and pretty much the locals just get off the internet. They stay to whatever they're being told by their local people and they just stick to that. So I don't know. This whole thing was very dramatic and I was like, "Oh crap." At first I was really just like, "Okay, this survey thing is odd. I never heard of this before. That doesn't seem correct." But then I'm reading the guy's information and I'm like, "Damn, he's been doing this for 20 years. This is something common." And then I'm seeing he's done it in Idaho before, and then I'm seeing the way that the judge handled it and I'm like, if it's common, if he's done it in the state before, if he's done this for 20 years, why is the judge just ixnay not happening? I have a feeling it's because of the questions being asked. I really do. I wonder if we'll ever hear it. I wonder if we'll ever know. If anybody got that call, there's only 400 of you. Okay. There's only 400 of you that got this call. If any of you got that call, I would love to know. I would love to know. But that is it, you guys. I want to know what you guys are thinking about all of this drama because the state and the defense damn well agreed to meet on a subject. And the state was like, never mind. I'm just going to do what I want to do instead. Screw what I said. I'm not a man of my word. I don't care what I told the defense. I'm going to do what I want. How freaking shady, bro. Shady. But that is it, you guys. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. See y'all.